Some places aren't shown on any maps, not places made of rock or dirt, but of thought, feeling, and memory. Carl Jung, one of the most important thinkers in modern psychology, warning us not about enemies outside of ourselves, but about enemies inside our minds that eat away at our souls slowly. Not only are these bad habits or flaws, but they are also psychic spaces or states of mind where the self loses its focus, respect, and direction. Jung knew that pain is often a way to grow, but he also taught that there are places where pain turns into self-destruction, and there is no way to grow from that. Carl Jung taught in psychology and philosophy that the soul should never live in these 7 places. One is the house of denial, which is where the ghost is pushed away. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Jungian psychology says that the shadow is everything we don't want to see about ourselves. It includes our anger, jealousy, selfishness, sexual urges, fears, traumas, and even our gifts and potentials that we have buried deep down. It's not bad in and of itself, it's just unknown. So denial isn't just avoiding facing outside facts, it's also avoiding parts of ourselves that make us feel uncomfortable, guilty, or unsafe. If we ignore the shade, we end up playing its role without realizing it. We act out in ways that are passive-aggressive, hurt our relationships, blame others for our flaws, or lash out with strong emotions we don't understand. This is what Jung meant when he said your life will be led by your mind. Patterns, heartbreaks, and failures will keep happening to you. It's not because the world is against you, but because your shadow is taking you astray. Living in denial is like putting up a house of mirrors where you can see skewed versions of everyone but yourself. You think the world is full of bad people, but what you're really doing is playing out old hurts. You give your power to a part of yourself that you refuse to face, but you blame other people for your mistakes. The most dangerous thing about denial is that it makes you feel safe. We tell ourselves that when we look inside, we'll lose control, break down, or fall apart. Jung, on the other hand, thought that facing the shadow is the first step toward real control, power, and healing. As soon as you accept your shadow, your inner mind can no longer control you. You don't get angry over little things anymore. You don't go after people who don't love you anymore. You don't have to hide who you are or try to please everyone anymore. You don't become perfect, but you do become whole, real, human, grounded, and aware of yourself. Jung called this process individuation. It means that the conscious and unconscious parts of a person's mind come together to form a single self. Being brave enough to say you're not as nice, calm, or put together as you act is the first step. So don't hide your jealousy when you feel it. Find out why. Don't try to hide your anger with fake kindness. Find where it came from. You shouldn't hold in your anger until it bursts. Pay attention to what it's telling you, because the shadow that isn't seen is now in charge, while the shadow that is seen waits. It sees, and one day it will do something bad to you. Do not build your house on lies. Don't hide your truth. Go to the bottom of your soul, bring out the parts you've hidden and talk to them. But don't do it to make them feel bad. Do it to understand them. That's when you stop living your fate and start living your truth. 2. The muddy swamp of anger where pain never changes. Jung thought that looking at suffering in a conscious way could lead to big changes. But when pain is ignored, hidden, or repeated over and over again without any thought, it turns into something darker. Anger, getting angry is like having pain that is turned into poison. It is the story we tell ourselves over and over about how we were hurt, lied to, forgotten, or not loved. This thing feeds on repeat. It's hard to get out of a swamp, and it gets worse the longer we stay there. Things get stuck, heavy, and move more slowly. Living here is like identifying with old hurts. You might say things like, "This always happens to me. People don't change." Or "One day they'll feel bad about how they treated me." At that point, you're not improving. You're hoping that your pain will prove your point. But anger never punishes the person who hurt you. It only punishes you. You close down, trust less, and love with doubt. You might even turn into the things you didn't like. Mean, cold, and bitter. The victim shows what the wrongdoer is like. According to Jung, the shadow gets in by making you believe that your pain makes you good, which means that your anger is holy. But in reality, anger that isn't dealt with turns into a chain. Jung thought says that forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook, it's about breaking the chain. It's a radical way to get your energy back from the past. It means to say this happened. It was painful. I won't let it change the rest of my life though. Changing your pain doesn't mean forgetting about it. It means finding the lesson, strength, or limit it taught you to hold. Jung said this was the alchemy of the mind, or turning mental lead into gold. So if you feel angry, stop and ask yourself, am I making this worse or am I getting rid of it? You can always find a place to lie down in the water, but don't think that quiet is peace. Third, the jail of shame and guilt where one is judged. Shame is not the same as guilt. I made a mistake, says guilt. The feeling of shame says, I am the mistake. The reason Jung thought shame was so dangerous was not because it was dramatic, but because it was quiet. It lurks in the shadows, telling you that you are not good enough, that you are not loved, that you can't be fixed. People who live in this inner prison often look like they are okay. They work hard, smile in public, and have success, but deep down they know they are truly broken. Nothing feels like it's enough. No love feels like it's due. The wall they've built inside won't let anyone forgive them, not even other people. Shame is terrible because it does more than just make you feel bad. It cuts you off from your own soul. To be okay with yourself and other people, it tells you to change into someone else. Jung thought that accepting yourself is the first step to real healing, not being perfect. He didn't support being lazy or doing wrong, but he did warn against punishing yourself forever. The mind needs room to grow. It can't do that if it is constantly criticizing itself. Staying guilty after learning your lesson is not a good thing to do. It hurts you. To grow, fix, and take responsibility, you need to feel real regret, but shame that won't go away makes you unable to move. Jung tells us to face our inner critic and ask, whose voice is this? Where did I learn that you have to earn love? That I'm not good enough the way I am? A lot of the time this shame started in childhood because of faith, trauma, or comparisons. Still, we treat it like the law. But today you can start to open that jail door, not by erasing the past, but by refusing to let it tell you what you're worth. Your mistakes don't make you who you are. You're not stuck in your past. The soul was never meant to live in guilt. Instead of guilt, it lives in growth, freedom, fear, and self-respect, not self-rejection. To get better, you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and help yourself, not find flaws. Jung taught that we can only be truly whole when we accept all of ourselves. That is, our light and our shade. 4. The show of persona, where being real isn't important. Jung came up with the idea of the ego, which is like a social mask that helps us get around in the world. It's the image of ourselves we show to get liked, accepted, or safe. You need to have an image to get by in society, but living in it is like losing yourself. Performance turns into personality in the theater of persona. You put on a mask at first, but then you forget it's there. You cry when you really want to smile. Even when your mind says no, you agree. You dress, talk, and act in a certain way, not to show yourself but to keep people happy. You slowly fade away, and no one notices. Your real self is pushed into the unconscious, along with your wants, pain, creativity, and chaos. In a story that wasn't written by you, you play a part in someone else's story. As Jung said, this is not a good idea because the soul does not live on lies. Your inner life becomes farther away the longer you perform. Eventually you may feel tired, numb, or even depressed, not because your life has no value, but because it is not your own. It's not just not real here, it's even dangerous. You might be turned down if you show your true self. Jung, on the other hand, thought that no one could become whole without taking that risk. To become psychologically mature, we have to take off our masks one piece at a time and ask ourselves, who am I really? Giving up the character theater isn't a way to rebel against society. It's a way to remember your soul. It's about getting back the voice you shut down, the dream you put off, and the ideals you buried. Because it won't feel like love no matter how well liked your mask is. If it doesn't show who you really are, it will make you feel alone. 15. The mind becomes a trap when you think too much. The mind is a very useful thing, but Jung warned that the mind can be a maze, a place of endless loops, a prison of analysis, or a labyrinth where thought never stops, and truth is never found if it is lost in it.
To stay here is to mistake thinking about things for being wise. You think and think, trying to use logic to ease your pain, guesswork to make sense of the future, and imagination to change the past. However, the more you think, the less clear things become. Jung said that intuition, symbols, and the unconscious, those parts of the mind that don't talk in logical terms, were very important. He knew that meaning and healing often come from the depths of things that don't make sense, not from the top. But when you think too much, your heart stops beating, your body stops sending messages, and your soul's voice, soft, intuitive, and symbolic, gets lost in all the noise. It makes us feel safe to think too much because it makes us think we have control. In reality, though, it's fear that's hiding behind knowledge. It stops us from making choices, leaves us emotionally and spiritually disconnected. Do not solve life. Jung would say, live it, dream it, and feel it. For the soul doesn't talk in formulas, it speaks through pictures, feelings, silence, and metaphors. To get out of this maze, you need to learn to trust again, and not just your brain, but also your gut, your inner knowing. You need to be ready to act even if you don't know all the answers. Stop playing over and over the past, and live in the present. Being wise doesn't mean knowing everything. It means knowing when to stop thinking and start living. 6. The land of loneliness, where people are afraid to connect with others. Jung knew something that is still true in current psychology. The soul doesn't heal by itself. It helps people get along. But a lot of hurt people run away to a mental desert that is big, empty, dry, safe, but dead. At this point, you tell yourself that you don't need anyone, that people are bad, and that love is too risky for you. At first, having no expectations, failures, or betrayals feels freeing. But over time, the silence gets too much to bear. The silence that was once holy starts to feel like being sent away. In this desert, being weak is a bad thing. You become too dependent on yourself, mentally guarded, and very wary of close relationships. But what you're really trying to avoid isn't other people. It's the parts of yourself that you don't think deserve to be seen. It was Jung who said, we are hurt in relationship and healed in relationship. We need to do shadow work, heal from trauma, and learn more about ourselves, but we are not fully human until we can stand in front of another person and say, here I am, imperfect, real, and still worthy of love. If you stay alone, you won't have any mirrors, the holy friction of connection, or the challenge and joy of being truly known. Connectivity does let in pain, but it also lets in joy. It was not meant for the soul to live on its own. It was meant to join. 7. The tomb of the past, where the present has been left behind. Jung also said not to go to one more place, the graves of the past. It's where people go when they can't let go of sadness, guilt, regret, or nostalgia. This place isn't what it seems. It feels holy to mourn and honorable to remember, but living there is the same as not living at all. You turn into a ghost that wanders through memories, experiencing hurts and trying to bring things back to life that have already died. The mind keeps going over what might have been. The heart holds on to what was taken away. The present moment blurs because it was ignored, not lived, and not loved. Jung thought that our minds are always trying to make us whole, and that we can only become whole now, right now. You miss the doors that open in front of you. If you are looking backwards, though, to let go is not to forget. To respect the past without becoming, it is what it means to let go. It means learning to let go of people and parts of yourself that are no longer helpful on your journey. The past has lessons, but it doesn't give us life, new breath, or progress. When you walk through this graveyard and kneel in front of old heartbreaks and replay old betrayals, stop and ask yourself, what am I keeping alive that doesn't fit in my story anymore? Feel sad, forgive, bless it, and then leave it. Jung said that life is not found in clinging to what was. You can find it by becoming the person you were meant to be right now, when you are fully awake. Leave the places that make you feel small. Go to the place where your soul can breathe. Not tomorrow, not until you're ready. However,